him, and he told the whole story, and the fact that he told her, so she said, okay, he said, do you want me to swear for you? No, she said, I believe you. The time continued, and Khuzaymah, our friend that was poor, collected his money. He found out he has a lot of money. He called anybody he took day from when he was poor. He paid them back. He donated a lot of money. Then he went on a trip to visit the Khalifa. The Khalifa was on a trip and he was in Palestine, so he went to go visit him. Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik. He knew him and he was a friend with him and he used to visit him when he was rich. Now he went to him and go see him. And the Khalifa has not seen Khuzaymah for a long time. So he said, oh, Khuzaymah, what happened? We have not seen you for a long time. He said, yeah, a calamity has fell on me and I had such and such problem and I couldn't come to you because of that. So he said, why didn't you come ask us? We would give you money, whatever you needed. He said, my situation was worse than being able to come to the Khalifa. I couldn't even find a means to come to you. So he said, what happened now? How did you get to us? And he told him the story of Jabir al-Haratikaram. One night as I was in the house and then came, gave me a piece of money, I asked him who he is, and he told me, Ana Jabir al-Haratikaram. And he wouldn't tell me anything else. And the Amir said, if we had known, the Khalifa said, if we knew who he was, we would have honored him and given him a lot of prizes for what he did. That was a noble man. So he said, I will do my best to find out. And then the Khalifa said, bring me a sheet. He told his servants, bring me a sheet. And he wrote down, say to Khuzaymah, I make you the Amir of the city that you came from. I take away the Imara from the person that was in your city, and now you are the Amir of your city. Now we have a problem here. The guy who helped him and donated to him is the Amir. And Khuzaymah, when he went to the Khalifa said, I take the Imara away from the person that was in charge of you, and I make you the new Amir. And nobody knows in the background what's going on. So Khuzaymah doesn't know. Amir is the Khalifa is the one that makes the decision. He said, okay. And he went back to the city, and as soon as he got close, the word already got out. The Amir and the noblemen of the city came out to talk to welcome the new Amir Khuzaymah. Khuzaymah to the mission last week. And he came and he went to the royal palace and he went in. And then Khuzaymah, the next day, he gave out the command to do accountability on all the people that were working for the government. And to check the financial status of every single job there was, and to see if there's anything missing, and to fix. Now they looked through all the employees, the judges, the police officers, everybody, including the Amir. Akrimat al-Fayyad. Do we know who Akrimat al-Fayyad is? The guy who donated, the guy who was generous. The master that came during the night. Like donated to this guy, he's the new Amir. And they found out in the hisab of Akrimat al-Fayyad that a lot of money is missing. How much did he just donate? 4,000 gold coins. So they found out a lot of money is missing. And then Khuzaymah calls him and he says, you're missing this much money, I need you to pay it back. Akram says, there's no way. I have no means of being able to pay back that much money. And he misused it. He used it for a noble cause, and I don't have the means to be able to pay back this money. And Khuzaymah says, Wallah, you have to pay back. He said, I have no means to do whatever you want. So he said, take him to jail. Khuzaymah says, take Ahmad Khuzaymah, put him in prison. So they took him and they imprisoned him. And he stayed in the prison, and Khuzaymah went, when he wouldn't pay, he told him, chain him up. Put him in chains. Put him in solitary confinement. To the point that Khuzaymah, his whole demeanor changed, his facial structure changed, it became dark, it could not hurt him. And he stayed like this for a while. And nobody knows what Akrimah did, and he won't tell anybody. If he goes to Khuzaymah and tells him, I am the one that came to you that night, Khuzaymah will let him out. And will help him and honor him. But he's doing this not to gain the pleasure of Khuzaymah or anything, he was doing it for the sake of Allah. And he continued to hide this good noble act that he did, even when he was hurting me. He was not somebody that's saying, put me on Instagram, show off, any of this. He did this out of noble cause, for the sake of Allah. until the situation became hard on the wife of Ikrimah, who knew the situation. Remember the night she got jealous? So she knows what happened. And she couldn't take it anymore. And she was a wise lady. She didn't go to the Amir and yell at him or anything. She called one of her servants and she said, I want you to go to the Amir's house. Go to the palace of Khuzaymah ibn Bishr al-Aslam. And I want you to say to them that I have a nasiha, advice for the Amir. And I will not tell it to anybody except the Amir. So this servant, she went. She knocked on the royal palace. They opened for her. She said, I want to see the Amir. I have advice for him. And I won't use the messenger. I need to talk to him directly, alone. So the Amir said, all right. When she was with the Amir by herself, she said what the wife told her. She said, this is not the way you should deal with Jabir al-Kiram. This is not the way you should deal with the man who fixes and helps the noblemen when they fall. And Khuzaymah lost it. He said, shame on you. Is this the man that came through for me that night? The one that stood by me when nobody else stood by me? I am the one that did this to him. And he called the people of the city and he said, take us to the prison. He went there, he came into his cell and he saw the whole man changed. And he kissed him on the forehead. And he said, Ikrimah said, what changed? A few minutes ago you had me in prison, solitary confinement, chained up. What changed? He said, how noble you were towards me and how bad I repaid you back. I found out the noble act that you did to me, you did for me. And he ordered the security to come, take the chains off of Ikrimah and put it on him, the Amir. He said, tie me up. And Ikrimah said, why are you doing that? He said, I want to feel what you felt. I want to go through the pain that you went through. And Ikrimah told him, I swear to Allah that you will not do that. Don't do it. He said, okay, but come with me. He took him and they came back to his house. And then, when Ikrimah wanted to go to his house, he said, no. Wallahi, you cannot go to your house looking like this. I'm shy more from your wife than I am from you. Her house, a beautiful man left her house, and now you look ragged out and from prison, and you don't have a good facial looks. I want to take you to the hammam, to the place, and get a massage and clean up and get a haircut, go to salon. I want to bring you back to her, a beautiful man. So he went there and told everybody get out. Ikrimah got a new wardrobe, and he came back. And he gave him a lot of money, and he came back to his house. And he said, I want to see your wife. He apologized to her. And he requested from Ikrimah, please come with me. We want to go visit the Khalifa. Let's go together and visit the Khalifa. So Ikrimah said, hey, there's a point in time they went back to the Khalifa. And one day, the Khalifa is sitting in his palace, and they tell him that Khuzaymah is at your door. And the Khalifa says, Wallahi, this is a severe situation. This man, I just gave him the Imam. I just made him a Khalifa. I just made him a Amir a little while ago. And he came to me without me calling him, without permission. That means something is up. There's a problem. There's a situation. So he let him in. And as soon as he comes in without even saying Assalamu alaikum, the Khalifa says, Ya Khuzaymah, how are you? Oh Khuzaymah, what's behind you? What's your situation? He says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, ana wajadtu Jabir al-Kiram. Oh Amir, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, oh Khalifa, I found the one who fixes the situations of the noble men that fall. He said, who is it? And he says, the man that you took the Imam away from and gave to me. And the Khalifa said, let him in, and he honored him, and said to him, Wallahi, the fact that you helped this man was a calamity on you. The man that you helped became your downfall. And he told him, tell me whatever you want, tell me anything. And he take a piece of paper and write down every single matter that you want from us. And Ikrimah said, Ya Amir, I don't want that. Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I don't need any help. He said, Wallahi, you will do it. So Ikrimah wrote out everything that he needed, and the Khalifa said, I need this to be fulfilled. All of his wishes. And then he says, I make you the Amir of the Jazeera that you came from, Azerbaijan, and another city that I forgot right now. All of them together, you are the whole place where the rally happened, not just the Amir. And he said, as for Khuzaymah, you decide what's going to happen to him. You either keep him as Amir in the city, or you ta'zir, take it away from him. So Akram says, I want him to be as the Amir the way he is, and we're going to continue the way we were. Now we learn a lot from the story of Akram al-Fayyad, and the core of it is the Muslim behaves the way he behaves out of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and out of love for his Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Not to show off, not to boast, not to be considered an important person, but rather for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when manners are carried out in that manner, in that tactic, that's when they become a source of ibadah. Somebody that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. When you give because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that gift. When you're patient because Allah loves those that are patient. When you do ihsan because Allah loves those that do ihsan. So as Muslims, we go through calamities with our friends, our Muslim friends, our co-workers, our classmates, our neighbors, non-Muslims. Always remember that you live up to the standard and noble character that you have in accordance to your religion, to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet. And you always keep that code, no matter what. Inshallah, I don't want to keep you guys longer. But I want to add one more story. Because turning, Lord, one more story. The reason why I tell this lectures through stories is so we can relate to them. You can mention a lot of ayat, but the situation comes up when you actually apply it in real situations in life. And especially in times of calamities and hardship. One day, there was this scholar, one of the ulama of Sirah, Quran, and Hadith science, and the same thing happened to him when he says, I went through a financial problem. I had a financial problem in my life. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money with me. And I looked for a situation I couldn't find anything. But he's a Muslim, he's a Muslim scholar, he's a righteous person. And one day as he's walking through the streets of Mecca, he finds a silk cloth that's tied up with a silk rope, and there's something in it. He picks it up in the middle of the street and he takes it home. And when he goes home, he opens it up. And he finds in it a necklace of pearl that he has never seen the like of it in his lifetime. A beautiful necklace. It's a beautiful pearl in it. And he says, I thought to myself, Wallahi, this is worth a lot of money. And he can make you go out of your situation. And he said, I closed it back up. And I went back into the city. And I found a man that's calling out in the middle of the city, saying, whoever found a bag, a black bag, that in it is such and such, then wallahi, this money is for him. And he had 500 dinar. He said, whoever finds me that bag, I'll give him this much and this much money. So I saw the man, and I thought to myself, should I tell him, or should I keep it for myself? I really need this, and take the money from him. Or at least go to him and give him his bag, but take the money from him. So instead I called the man, and I told him, tell me what's in the bag that you lost. So he told him exact descriptions that this bag had, and whatever was in his bag. And he said, I told the man, here's your bag, take it. And he wanted to reward me and give me the money? And I told him, no. Keep the money and take your bag. 4, this is something that belonged to you. You lost it. And if any Muslim finds it, he has to bring it back to you. I did it for the sake of Allah and I don't want to get rewarded by it. And he said, Wallah, I needed that much money. And the guy was willing to give to me, but my character wouldn't allow me to make him pay for something that he owns. I was doing this because it was the right thing. So the man thanked me, he was happy, he hugged me, and he went away. And he said, my life continued, and I was still in a hard situation, until one day, I decided to leave Mecca and go look for rizq, and look for a job somewhere else. And he said, I got on a boat. And as we're shipping in the middle of the ocean, a thunder breaks out. And waves come from all directions. And in the middle of the ocean, our boat breaks down. And I cling onto one of the broken parts of this boat. And he kept going until I sailed on and went onto the shore of an island. And I went on this island, and the people found me, they took me, they helped me. And I walked into the masjid. I have nowhere to go, I have no clue where I am. I went into the masjid, and I found a mushaf that's very old and dusty. And I picked it up, I took the dust off of it, and I started reading it. And the people, when they saw that I'm looking at the mushaf and I'm reading it, they all came over me and said, you know how to read Arabic? And I said, yes. I memorized the Quran, I'm a sheikh. And they said, Wallahi, we need you to live with us and teach our children the Quran. And we will pay you a good sum of money. We'll give you a good job, we'll give you a good paycheck. Please help us teach our kids. And the sheikh said, okay. And they gave him a halaqah, they collected the students, they brought the students to him, and he was teaching them, and he taught them for a while, until he said, I collected up a good sum of money. And then the people of the city, of the island, they got scared that the sheikh will leave them. So they came to him and they said, Ya sheikh, we want you to stay in the city with us and to live with us, and we will give you in marriage one of our daughters. We will marry you off to one of the girls of our city so that you don't leave. You become a resident here, a family. We want you to stay with us. And the sheikh said, Wallahi, I want to go back to my city. And they kept swearing on him and say, please, please stay with us, until he said, okay. And then they did the wedding for him, and the hafla is going on. And then later on, they bring to his new wife, they bring her to the house. And as soon as she enters with her maharim, the sheikh's eyes clinged on the necklace that's on the chest of the girl. That's his wife. That's his wife. He's not looking at her, he's looking at the necklace. She had a beautiful necklace. And then the people said, Ya Sheikh, istahi. People said, oh, Sheikh, have some manners. You didn't even welcome the girl, you didn't say hi, you're just looking at her necklace. And he said, guys, this necklace has a story for me. I remember this necklace. I recall something with this necklace. And they said, what? And he told them the story that one day I was walking in the streets of Mecca and I found a bag, and in it was this necklace. And there was a man looking for it, and I found the man and I gave him the bag, and I didn't take anything from him, and he was making dua for me, and he left. And the people started rejoicing, saying, Allahu Akbar, Takbir, Subhanallah. They were astonished. And he said, what is wrong? Why are you guys doing this? They said, this girl is an orphan. Her dad went to Hajj a little while back. And when he went there, he came back and he told us a story of how he lost his bag, and a man found for him, and he used to say, oh Allah, let me see this man again so I can marry him to my daughter. He used to make dua and say, oh Allah, give me one more chance that I see the sheikh again, and I want to marry him off to my daughter. And the man did not get this chance. He died before he got to this situation, and his daughter was still young. And now Allah brought you from where you were into this island, and you ended up marrying the daughter. So the man who refrained from taking something haram, from stealing it in the first place. One. And two, that was the minimum. Stay away from haram. And he did not take the ransom and get paid to do the right thing. He refused. So Allah brought him the necklace and the girl in a halal manner. And the Shaykh continues and he says, I married this lady and she had 2 sons for me. And after a while, the lady died. And she was his wife, he had 2 kids from him, he loved her, she died. And after a little while, the 2 sons died too. Subhanallah. And he ended up inheriting the pearl and all of the money from both of them. So, when you are carrying out the noble character, the good deed, in that situation you might not understand why. You might not see the full picture, but the most important thing is that you do that which is right because you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet. And you do the right thing because you want Jannah. Anything else, any gains in this world comes and goes. But the real gain and the real pleasure is the one that's with who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you don't know, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِّن قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ. No soul knows that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hidden for it in the near future. The goodness that will come to you. So inshallah, as Muslims, as believers, as we go through life, as we go through calamities, we need to remember that we are working towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those that strive towards the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will aid them, Allah will help them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be by their side. إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مُحْسِنُونَ. Allah is with those that have taqwa and do ihsan. إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. Allah is with those that endure patience. So inshallah, we are in a hard situation as Muslims. Our Muslim young brothers and sisters, I know when you're going to school, it's hard to be noble, it's hard to be a Muslim. You might be the awkward person. It's hard to do the right thing in a situation where everybody's doing the wrong thing. Our parents, when they were growing up back home, they might have had it was okay to do the right thing. It was good to do the right thing. If you do something wrong, before your parents get to you, the neighbors will smack you in the back of the head and say, stop doing this. You understand? Everything was, the society was good. But in the situation we're in now, it's not that easy for our young brothers and sisters. But in accordance to how heavy your burden is the heaviness of your reward. The Muslim young brother, young sister that goes to school nowadays, prays salah, holds up the Islamic manners, is more rewarded than the same Muslim of the same age, of the same gender, that does it back in Yemen, Somalia, Saudi, Qatar, anywhere else. You're doing the same act. The same salah that you're praying is more rewarding for you than a person that's back home. Because that person doesn't have to go through the same calamity that you do. And this is shown to us in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ told us that on the day of judgment, I want to give you an example. This is an important one. I will drive home. There are going to be 7 types of people that will rest under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when there's no shade except His shade. And among these people is a king who was just. Being just is one of the good characters and noble characters of Islam. A king who's what? Just. That does the right thing, that doesn't transgress on people. Now you might think that's something that he should do. Why is it so important? Why do they get such a high reward? He should have done it anyways. Any Muslim that does transgression is bad. But then not every Muslim is as powerful as a king. When you are the king, by the snap of a finger, somebody goes to jail. By the snap of a finger, somebody's head is cut off. You understand? Somebody becomes rich, somebody becomes poor. You are the guy who's in control. When you have such a strong power, it's hard for you to do the wrong thing, to do the right thing. You get angry. When you get angry, somebody takes his sword out. Amir, king, should I take his head off? You understand? You're not a normal person. When they get mad, the best thing they'll do is to punch somebody. This guy gets mad, somebody's head is going to go off. You understand? So it's not easy to be a king and to be just. On the opposite side, the Prophet ﷺ taught us that there will be types of people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not look at them on the day of judgment, will not talk to them, and for them is a painful punishment. And among them is Malikun Kadhab, a king who lies. Why? Lying is not that powerful. Why the king? Because he has no reason to lie. He has no reason to lie. Everything's under his power. Everybody follows his command. Why does he need to lie? It shows that he's going out of his way to do the wrong thing. You understand? One time the Prophet ﷺ taught us that among the people that will rest under the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the day there is no shade except his shade, is a young person who grew up in the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A young person who loved Allah from young age and practiced his deen from a young age. You'll find many people that go about the wrong ways, do a lot of mischiefs, and later on return to Allah. But you'll rarely find somebody who was righteous, upright from a young age. Prayed, fasted, did the right thing, good to his parents. You understand? Stays away from drugs, stays away from mishaps from a young age. And because it's so hard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him while everybody else is under the sun, and the sun is 1 mile off their head, and they're under the hot sun for 50,000 years. This person will be under the shade of Ar-Rahman. And on the other side, the Prophet ﷺ taught us that among the people with that king who's a liar, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not talk to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not look at them, and for them is a painful punishment, is a shaykhun zani, an elderly person, an old man that does zina. Why? Because he's not like a young person who has shahwa driving him, who has temptations. This person's temptation died off. He's too old for this. And he's still doing these mishaps, these wrong things. That means wickedness has taken over his heart, and became his identity. So, as you can see in the hadith and in the Quran, in accordance to your hardship and what you go through is the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. As Muslims in America, we have challenges. As youth, Muslim youth in America, we have challenges. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us these challenges, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not burden us with that which we cannot carry. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not burden on us more than we can carry. We can live through this. If Bilal radiallahu anhu took that stone in the middle of Mecca on a hot sun and it was put on his chest and he was being told, say anything bad about Allah, and he refused and he was saying ahadun ahad, then I think we can take a little bit of a glance of somebody looking down at us, somebody saying you're a terrorist to us, and so on, why are you wearing that, and so, you get what I mean? So I think we can stand this. People died in the Prophet ﷺ's time. They were being tortured. And today, we need to stand strong. We need to stand strong, and we need to stick to our deen, and we need to stick to our qualities and our values. And inshallah, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will persevere, and we will become those that are successful, and those that continue the legacy of Islam in America and the Western Hemisphere, and change this community. The Muslims came in here as immigrants, and inshallah, they will go out of here while they brought the message and beauty of Islam to the whole nation of America. Inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sar al-iman into our hearts. Allahumma habbib ilayna al-iman wa zayyinhu fi qulubina wa karrih ilayna al-kufra wal-fusuq wal-isyan waj'alna min ar-rashidin. Allahumma ati nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عمن سواك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. إمامنا ماذا بعد؟ إن شاء الله نستعد. Sheikh Yahya, we have somebody to read Quran for us? Yeah. Inshallah, we're going to have some students, the guests, they're going to read some Quran for us, inshallah. Listen to some recitation of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some of them to do a quick kalima for us. Shaykhna, when are we going to pray? After? Okay, inshallah. Iqama or adhan? Iqama or adhan?
We have now 15 minutes.
Okay, inshallah. خلاص. Abu Bakr? Okay, that's all. One person, okay. Questions. Let's do some questions before 4 minutes before adhan. Any questions or comments? Who will get off the stage? Okay. Do we have Hufad in here? Do we have Hufad? Questions from what I said? Okay. What was the name of the Amir? Yes. Akramat al-Fayyad. Akramat al-Fayyad. Very good. Who is somebody who's known by this name? A companion that had the name Akrimah. Who knows a companion by the name of Akrimah? Akrimah ibn Abi Jahl. Who's Akrimah ibn Abi Jahl? Do we know Abi Jahl? Abu Jahl, the enemy of Rasulullah, right? The enemy of Rasulullah, that even at his deathbed, the day that he was in battle and the other companion was on top of him and he was dying, the last words that he said was, tell Muhammad, my last message is, tell Muhammad that I am his enemy. He's dying, he's about to go to Nar, and the last words he says is, tell Muhammad that I am his enemy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings from his backbone his own son and makes him a Muslim, and he was a righteous Muslim who died in battle. When Akrimah and Rasulullah entered Mecca, there was some people that Rasulullah said they are to be killed even if they're found hanging, clinging off the Kaaba. They had no excuse. These were people that were very animalistic against Islam. And among them was Akrimah. And Akrimah knew his crime, so he fled Mecca. As soon as the Prophet ﷺ came, he took a boat, he ran away. And he even left his wife. He took his wife, he left her with some Bedouins, and he left. His wife came to Rasulullah ﷺ, and she said, Ya Rasulullah, if I bring you Akrimah, would you accept his Islam? This is a man that Rasulullah said, kill him wherever you find him. And she says, Ya Rasulullah, if I bring him to you, will you accept his Islam? And he becomes Muslim. And Akrimah says, the Prophet ﷺ says yes. So she goes to look for her husband. What an amazing lady. She was a good wife to him, and now she's going to be the reason why he enters Islam. She goes after him, and our man Akrimah, this companion, to be companion inshallah, he is in the middle of the ocean, and waves and thunderstorms happen, and the captain of the boat says, we need everybody to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us, and to do no partners with him, no Lat, no Uzza, nobody. Beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only, for he's the only one that can save us from this calamity. And Akrimah says, I did not fight Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 13 years except for this. The reason why I was fighting Muhammad for 13 years is because he was telling me to worship one Allah and to beg one Allah. And I went against him. And now you guys are telling me that when the situation gets hard, only beg the one Allah of Muhammad. He says, oh Allah, wallahi, if you save me from this, I will go back to Muhammad and accept Islam. The wife did not even reach him yet. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves the whole boat. Akrimah gets off the boat, he goes, takes a boat that's going back to Mecca. On the way there, he finds his wife, and she tells him the good news that Rasulullah will accept your Islam if you come to him. So he comes back to Rasulullah and he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And he becomes Muslim. And Rasulullah says, do not mention the wickedness of Abu Jahl anymore, because it will hurt Akrimah. Abu Jahl is gone. Whatever you say, he's gone. But as I don't want Akrimah to hear you guys talking about his father. Let it go. Subhanallah. Somebody who fought Rasulullah for 13 years and died doing so, and then he becomes a Muslim. So Akrimah al-Fayyad is named after Akrimah ibn Abi Jahl radiyallahu anhu. Okay. Adhan? Who's going to do adhan for us? Allah yabarak fik. Allah yas'adak.